We're now live streaming to Facebook. Okay, so I'm very much hoping this has worked. So hello to everyone who is watching via Guides for Brides. And I really hope that you all have a cup of tea in hand, a drink of some sort, and you're ready to kind of just listen to what we've kind of learned and researched and developed over the last year as to how we feel that we can help you with wedding planning during this time. So for those that don't know me, my name's Nina and I run Occasion Queens. We specialise in on-the-day setup and coordination. So we aren't wedding planners, you can plan your own wedding, but we'll come in on the day and make sure that your day is totally stress-free, and that we'll do all of the donkey work for you, make sure everything's running on time and everything's happening how you want it to happen, looks how you want it to happen, all that kind of stuff. That's what we do. But at the start of the pandemic, I started a Facebook group called Plan to Postpone. And in that group, there are now over 1,300 people who are having to postpone their wedding, all looking for help and support. So I've kind of been there to make sure that you get the facts, you know and understand what's fair. Don't always like what I have to say sometimes, probably, but life's unfair sometimes, isn't it? But there to support you, really. And one of the things I came away with recently was that we also need to look after our well-being, as well as making sure that we know all of the facts and figures around postponements. We need to look after ourselves. And having spoken to so many couples, hundreds, definitely hundreds, if not into the thousands of couples over this year, I almost feel like I want to give you permission for feeling the way you feel and to tell you that that's okay. So together with the amazing Vicky from Mind, and also having had a million conversations with Claire in one form or another this year as well about her postponement, we came together to do this Wellbeing Zoom to give you some steps to feel better, really. I think we all need to feel a bit better sometimes, especially during another lockdown. Though I'm a bit worried about this lockdown. I don't feel like it's a lockdown. I don't know about anyone else. The streets are still busy. So that's me. Vicky, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me, Nina. I'm Vicky and I am from the community fundraising team at Mind. And part of my role there is to look after our wedding fundraising. So that's lots of people who choose to support Mind on their special day, which means the absolute world to us. But as well as that, obviously, I'm here today to talk about that, but really also to support exactly what Nina was saying around there are some really practical, actionable things we can do to look after our well-being, and it's now more than ever is a really great time to just be thinking a little bit more mindfully about those things. So I'm really happy to be joining the conversation today, as in my role as a fundraiser, but also in my role as somebody who thinks well-being is really important. And yeah, it's lovely to be here.
Thanks, Vicky. And thank you as well to Helen, who is in the Plan to Postpone group and works for Mind, and emailed me ages ago and was like, can we help at all? And then the right time came along where I was like, actually, yes, can you? So thank you, Helen, for putting this collaboration together. I really appreciate it. And also big thanks to Claire for joining us today as well. Claire, tell us about your wedding dramas.
So hi, I'm Claire. Our wedding was originally planned for August just gone. Obviously we had to postpone. Our wedding was actually the Friday, where the Saturday was the first day that weddings could go ahead, but we planned to postpone actually a few months before that, so we were at peace with it by then. So our wedding is now postponed to August 21. We're waiting to see what happens, but yeah, I consider myself a bit of a plan to postpone OG. I was in the group, I don't know how many people in there, I want to say like 50. I obviously jumped on it right at the beginning, like I need help. So yeah, I spoke to lots of brides like in the forum within that Facebook group over the months, and like we'll be forever grateful for the support within that group. I don't know what I would have done without it. So just want to give a big thanks to Nina whilst I've got the mic as well. But yeah, hopefully my story and kind of the feelings that I went through during this time will help others that may be feeling the same way.
Definitely. Claire, you've been such a massive influence and positive influence in that group, and I'm so grateful for amazing people like you being in there. So we're going to kick off with the first section of this Zoom, which is going to be concentrating around grief, because I think we all realised very early on that the emotions that you were going through, I say you, not you, Claire, well, you, couples, the emotions you were going through were very much following this 5 stages of grief. And that you were almost having to grieve for your day. You were having to accept the fact that it was no longer the day that you had planned and hoped and dreamed of, and that it was impacted. And the more research we did into that, the more we looked into it, we realised that saying to you this is what it was actually really helped you understand those feelings that you're going through and accept them and be okay with them and know that it all now made sense. So what I'm going to do is just explain each stage of grief, and then Claire is very kindly going to explain how she kind of went through that stage and what the impact was on you. So the first one is denial. So denial is feelings of shock, disbelief, panic, confusion, all the things that come with not wanting to accept a situation. It's the kind of, how could this happen? How can it be true? Why is this happening? It's all those questions that start asking that you're like, actually, no, I'm not having this. And I'd like to kind of carry on in my little bubble where COVID didn't exist. Does anyone remember what that feels like? So the first stage is denial. And I know, Claire, you definitely felt this one big time, right?
Yeah, and when I first spoke to Nina on the phone about the 5 stages of grief, I remember like, really, would I have gone through that? But as she went through each one, like I was like, oh my god, that definitely, like we definitely went through it without knowing. So yeah, in terms of denial, I think with everyone around the world, in terms of coronavirus, like what is this? You could like see it coming from the other side of the world, and we were kind of keeping an eye on what's going on. Like it will never happen. So I was remember saying to my friends as well, like they never shut the shops here. Like they will never do that to the economy. Like imagine looking at that message now. But yeah, we definitely went into that denial stage. Like we had that panic, and then very quickly decided that actually we're going to go for a positive mental attitude. Like we're going to beat this with positive thinking. I sent an email out to like all of our suppliers, like, don't worry guys, like we're not going to cancel, we're going ahead, like everything's fine, everyone just like put your positivity on it, and we'll all be fine, which like is crazy when you look back at it, but it's all we could do, it's all we knew how to do. There was that shock, we literally had no power to do anything else, and obviously we were like 4 or 5 months out at the time. I did have one friend as well that kind of was like had the guts to message me like, Claire, like this thing's not going away, it's coming and it's going to stay. I think you need to like get your mind right for that. And I was like, no, like you're being such a Debbie Downer, like no, don't be silly. So yeah, I would definitely say that was our initial feelings that would fit into that denial category.
And I suppose that one then, when your friend said to you, you need to kind of know this is actually going to be a reality, it led on probably quite simply to the next stage, which was anger. So that is kind of blaming yourself, blaming others, blaming the world. And it's that, why me? This isn't fair. And I don't deserve this kind of situation.
Yeah, definitely. Like it took a couple of weeks of like our positive mental attitude, and then like it definitely started to sink in. And I know I got like really angry at the world, like why me, like out of all the people in the history of the world to get married, like why this year, like why none of my friends, they've like got all their weddings that they wanted, like why me? Yeah, I was really angry, also angry for other people around me for not like caring more, like this is my wedding, like why are they not reaching out to me? Which obviously looking back now, people had like all sorts of things to be dealing with, obviously like the impact on businesses, people's children were at home, they were trying to work, but yeah, like angry at the people around me, like I got all consumed definitely in terms of like, oh my god, this is gonna like the wedding's not gonna happen. And then my partner is really laid back as well, so the anger towards him, like why are you not more upset? Like I was all consumed, like why are you not feeling this way that I am? It's our wedding, like you should be feeling like this. And then also I've got endometriosis. I luckily got one little boy, but our plan was to have our wedding and then try for another baby, because we were worried about like the implications of waiting longer. So the anger around that as well, and the upset. And we had conversations like, oh, we could go ahead with the wedding whilst pregnant. And again, at that time, I was in such that like cloud. It was kind of like that's so unfair, like, because at the wedding, if I was pregnant, the only person that would miss out would be me, because like I would be the one that would be tired, and which is absolutely not true. Like, I know you can have an amazing wedding whilst being pregnant, and but at the time, I think it's just so all consuming. That anger is so consuming, and you just put yourself like in the center of the world and nothing else matters. So yeah, that was a big, out of the stages, I think that was like a big one, definitely for me.
And I think that's the thing, is that it's that realization that moving your wedding date, or your wedding date not happening how it was, is that there's a far greater impact than just a date. Like, there is nothing about postponing a wedding that is just a date, because a wedding is the start of the next chapter of your life. It is, you know, looking at planning your family. It's looking at, you know, for other people, it was about visas, moving abroad, all these other things that actually come after the wedding, and changing your mindset and getting your head around that is a really hard thing to do, which is why you have to go through all these stages to get to that point, get to that acceptance, which we'll come to. But I think that family planning is a massive one. Like, it's huge. And I know that there's been threads in Plan to Postpone about family planning, and how that's, like, let's not beat around the bush. No one thinks of their wedding day with a pregnant belly, right? you got your image of what you're going to look like on your wedding day. You're in a dress. There isn't a pregnant belly there. So it's not saying it's not okay to do that. It's having to change your mindset to get used to that idea and redream what your wedding day is going to look like. And it's all those changes that you have to go through. And I think that's been such a huge one. And my heart goes out to everybody who has had to get into that way of thinking and have tough conversations, right? It's not that this is a quick decision. It's tough conversations that you've got to look at financially. You've got to look at in terms of biologically. You know, it's not just that, oh, okay, well, we can put it back to next year. That's fine. It's just not that easy. So I think the anger is a big one, because it does have much further implications to what's going to happen in your life. And it comes down to other things. I know you mentioned like stag do's and hen do's, right? Like, that was another thing you got angry about, wasn't it?
I just realised that I hadn't mentioned that bit. So at the beginning of March, my other half went on a 2-week stag to Thailand. He got back literally like a couple of days before like the travel started to like wind down and stuff. I was obviously already a little bit angry about the 2-week stag in Thailand. But yeah, so like he had this amazing stag, like with all his friends, and I was due to go away like at the end of May. And again, it was that anger in terms of like, how did you get this amazing like stag do with your friends, and like mine's been cancelled. And that's probably carried on a little bit as well, because with the wedding next year, we don't know what's going to happen with travel. So yeah, that was definitely like something that I got really, like, I've still not to this day looked at his pictures, because I can't bring myself to do it, because like I'm just like, it just feels so unfair. And I know it's stupid, but again, when you think of your wedding, you do think of all this, like the build up and all the things that you kind of look forward to and you've saved to as part of this thing. And yeah, and then you just see it like falling away in front of you, and yeah, you do get angry at the people around you, I think.
I can absolutely understand that, because you've been robbed not just of the wedding day, but of the build up as well. And so all the things that again were a right to you to be able to do for your wedding have also been taken. And you know, one of the things I've also heard a lot of, and if for anyone that's seen me advertise this in any way, you've seen that I've been saying that you almost feel guilty for worrying about your wedding day. But I want to say to you, please don't. It's all relative. And yes, there are a lot more things in the world that we could all say are much worse than your wedding being postponed, but we understand the implications of your wedding being postponed, which is why you should never feel guilty for those feelings. You should never feel guilty for the fact that this has upset you, and that you need to give yourself a break, and you need to give yourself the time, and you need to go through these emotions and work through them in order to get to that place. And you know, I know the impact is far greater, and I'm just seeing the comments that are coming up on Facebook and things like that. And Emma my heart really goes out to you. And as we said, the impact is far wider, far greater. And I really hope that you get to have a wedding day that you can look back on with comfort and know that he's watching you. And I really, really hope you believe that. And that kind of leads me on as well to the next step, which is depression. So this is a hard one, right? Because we've gone through the fact that we've denied that it's going to affect us. We're now angry with the world, but actually now we're feeling tired. We're feeling a bit hopeless. We're feeling like it's kind of lost perspective. You might feel a little bit isolated, and everything becomes a bit of a struggle to kind of face having to do this and face having to postpone your wedding.
Yeah, so I think I kind of slipped into this around like as we reached a 3-month mark, like before the wedding, especially because our venue at the time still was kind of like holding us off, which I completely understand why, because no one knew what was kind of coming up in the future. But as it was getting closer, it was like complete loss of control. So I definitely did like slip into that depression stage, like with an August wedding as well. I think it was just very uncharted territory. Like the actual lockdown, people knew there'd be no weddings, but going into that August stage, it looked like lockdown was being lifted, but what were our rights? Like, and it wasn't just like we individually didn't know our rights, like nobody knew it, because no one's ever been through this before. No one knew what, like who, like we didn't know whether we were going to lose all of the money we'd put into this. And I remember going through the thoughts of like, if that money goes, that's it, there's no wedding. Like I remember thinking like, you have one life, we've saved that money once, if that goes, then that's it, like we can't save that again. So yeah, it was that very much like feeling of just like out of control and loss as well. We had no idea kind of what our rights were, and I was definitely like, it impacted like my life a lot. At the time I didn't work, I was still looking after my son, so I think because of that as well, I think it happened to a lot of people, but I didn't really have a distraction. I got all consumed, like I couldn't bring myself to like play with my son. I would just put in front of the TV. I was just trying to like waste the time to the end of each day to get to like the next announcement, constantly scrolling, like Googling every like combination of phrase that I could possibly find to like see if I don't know what I was looking for. I was just looking for something that I could like hang on to see like what was going to happen. And then I guess as well, the other thing that comes with depression is like that comfort eating, like drinking, like probably a bit more than we should be. Like I've always like exercised, and they do classes online. I kind of stopped them. I just couldn't bring myself to like talk to anyone or like interact even through those like online classes. So yeah, I think the anger was like a very powerful like emotion for me, but the depression definitely like impacted my life at that stage, and it was very all-consuming.
And you know, I think that's been normal for everybody, whether we were having to postpone our wedding or not. I think the depression stage of definitely overeating, guys, like yeah. Definitely having a few too many gins, but also just that constant scrolling, because this was so new to everybody and we didn't know what to expect or how to react or what to do. It was almost like an addiction, wasn't it? Like you wanted to just know everything, see everything. You couldn't miss an announcement. You couldn't miss that one little tangible bit of evidence to show that something might change for weddings. And the amount of articles that were always getting like posted in the group and all of those kind of things, like everybody was looking and needing some kind of hope and some kind of bit of information that could make us look a little bit better. At the moment, we're all about vaccines, right? Whereas back in the summer, it was just, when are we going to come out of lockdown, and what are the numbers
like system they put out, and it was like wedding. I remember like loads of people sending me that article like weddings August, and like, but someone's just made that up, but you just were clinging on to it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that kind of then almost felt once you kind of were looking into all of that information, it leads on almost to the next step, which was bargaining. I think this one we've kind of established that some people felt they had it, some people didn't. The bargaining point is where you've got like feelings of guilt, often kind of coming with things like, if only I had been more organized with this, or only if I had planned it this way. Like I know a really common one was people who who given notice for civil ceremonies, the ones that were either really organised and therefore it's like running out when they now wanted to do a 15-person wedding, or they hadn't been organised enough and hadn't got it done and therefore had to wait 5 weeks or 28 days to allow that to go through to able to get married. It's all that kind of like, wish I hadn't done this, wish I had done this. And it's not as common, but I think it's definitely one that we've probably experienced.
Yeah, I didn't feel this as much, but my fiance definitely did. And it caused like quite a lot of arguments as well, because I'm like super organized. So like I booked everything really early. So I think he felt that and almost like blamed it on me, like reflected that back onto me. Like, if you hadn't have been so organized, we wouldn't have all this stuff booked and we wouldn't have put down all these deposits. And so that kind of didn't help because of like the arguments that caused as well. Like, why did we book so many of the like nice to have suppliers? Like, why did we choose to book a wedding? We could have taken that money and like put that into like a house. Like, all those feelings of like, I think when you get engaged and you book your wedding, like you're so excited and you're willing to spend that money, but as soon as someone puts that kind of block there, you definitely have like, why have we done this? Like, because especially if you think, well, that money and then no wedding, like I could have put that to like so many other things. So yeah, he definitely felt that a lot.
I definitely understand that. I think my husband would have probably been the same.
I'm making him sound really bad, he's not, but I think again in that time
He's not. He just got a nice 2-week holiday in Thailand.
Yes.
I think that is the hard thing, though, that actually one of the things that lots of people have spoken about is the impact it's had on your partners. And that we've found that there's always one person in the relationship who's slightly more emotional about this than the other, and struggling to come to terms with the fact that the other one isn't the same way. Like, why are you not crying yourself to sleep at night? What is the deal with this? Because I am, so you should be too. And it is just accepting that people are reflecting on this and looking at this in different ways. But so long as you understand each other's motives and understand where each other's coming from and understand that it's okay that they're feeling this way, then that's what makes a really healthy relationship. And that's why you should be getting married. So that leads us on to the final stage of grief. So we've gone through denial, anger, depression, bargaining, and then the final one is acceptance. So acceptance doesn't mean that you like the situation or that you think it's right or you think it's fair. None of that. It's just knowing that you have to acknowledge the implications of coronavirus on your wedding, and accepting the new circumstances and being prepared to move forward into that different direction. And I think that comes at different times for people, it comes in different ways for people, but it's definitely at a point where you can almost then start reevaluating what your wedding day is going to look like. Yeah,
and for us, I think this acceptance, I could only like get onto that stage like once our venue would start speaking to us. Like before then I just couldn't get past it. But I think once they started speaking to us, we were kind of we were next in line in the queue and they were willing to speak to us about the future. We got that bit of control back, so we were able to like I'm definitely someone who needs a plan. So we're able to like make a plan with the information that we had, like speak to our suppliers and actually get like a true picture of like the financial situation in terms of like any losses, and then kind of make that plan. And that was definitely when I could like move on. And then it was very strange because we'd been all consumed by the wedding, that actually when we moved on from that, we suddenly like almost looked around like, oh my god, like we need to now adjust our lives to everything else as well. We'd been in such this like horrible little bubble. So
do you feel that you're kind of in a place now where you can start to think about almost replanning?
Yeah, I haven't really like looked at much in terms of the wedding. I think I'm still definitely like trying to protect myself a little bit. I think just because it's still so far away and we don't really know what the situation is going to be, although it is looking a little bit more hopeful. Not that I think it's likely it's not going to go ahead. I don't feel like there's any need for, like, our wedding was like almost nearly planned anyway. So I've not done much else, but I think definitely going like through those stages and through that experience, I mean, I can't speak for when it gets closer. Maybe I won't be able to control it, but I'm hoping that like experiencing that once will help me, will give me the tools for next time to actually not get sucked into that like hole as much.
I think that that's really important, isn't it? Is protecting yourself. And I know that there's like a few things that people can do in terms of kind of helping yourself. And I think one of the big ones in terms of kind of that addiction of looking for information and things is making sure that you step back away from some of these groups. You know, mute groups, leave WhatsApp groups, don't look at social media for a bit, turn the news off for a little bit, you know, even if it's just for half an hour and you go and have a bath, you know, whatever it might be, and you leave your phone in another room. It's just making sure that you give yourself time to definitely step back from all this information and this overload. Like, we were never designed to take this much information in, I swear to that. Like before the days of mobile phones, we didn't. So giving yourself a break and that time, making sure that I'm a big believer in facts. Like, I'm a big believer in going by the facts, and the speculation sometimes can be really hard because you're almost beating yourself up about something that you just have no control over and no idea what's going to happen in the future. You can try and be positive, you can try and be optimistic, but trying to make decisions and just take on too much information that you think you know what's going to happen and then it all changes is also really heavy on the heart. And so I think definitely making sure that you kind of stick to the facts and leave it at that and give yourself that break and come back to it at another time. But also giving yourself permission. And I keep on saying this because I've just had so many conversations with people and I'm just like, please just give yourself permission to feel the way you're feeling and be okay with that. And don't feel guilty for it. But yeah, thank you so much, Claire, for sharing your experiences with us and telling us exactly how you went through. I am absolutely sure that there are a lot of people here who can relate, because I mean, okay, I'm married, but I can relate to what you're saying, just having gone through the pandemic, having also spoken to hundreds of couples, but knowing that I felt a lot of this stuff just about the situation that I was in, let alone having to postpone my wedding. So I hope that's helpful. To anyone in the actual Zoom meeting, please feel free to put any comments or any chat or anything you want to say in the chat. It will not come up on the live stream to Guides for Brides Facebook page. To anyone in Guides for Brides Facebook page, please do add comments and things that you're feeling, and we'll be happy to kind of talk about those and through those at the end as well if we get a chance. So we've come to that point of acceptance, and we're at a place hopefully where, and this won't be for everybody, but hopefully this will be for some people, and for those couples who were planning to get married in 2021 and now having to possibly look at postponing their weddings. I hope this kind of gives you a little glimmer of hope that you will also get to that place of acceptance, and that you will work through those stages, give yourself time to work through those stages, but at the end of it, make sure that you are coming at it at a place where you accept the fact that your wedding may have to change a little, but there's things that you can do to make that just a little bit easier on yourself to do that. So this is where I'm going to switch over and talk to Vicky. Hi, Vicky.
Hi, Nina.
And so we're going to talk a little bit about 5 steps to improve your well-being during this time and things that you can do to kind of help yourself, in the same way that we were just speaking with Claire about stepping back and kind of the simpler steps, but actually there's some active steps that you can be doing, right?
Yeah, so I suppose and thank you so much, Claire, for sharing that so frankly, because I think what that really illustrates is like this has been a tough time for a lot of us, for lots of reasons. And like I said at the beginning, now more than ever is a really good moment to just take a step back and have a think about the things that we're doing to look after our well-being. At Mind, we talk a lot at the moment, or just in general, about, so everyone has physical health and we all kind of understand that as a thing. You know, you might be well for a bit, you might be unwell for a bit, you might get a cold, you might get a flu. You know, that's something that we recognize. And just in the same way as we have that, we all have mental health. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, sometimes it can be bad for a little while, sometimes it's just bad for a day or two. And you know, it's a neutral thing that we all have. And just like there's steps that we all take to look after our physical health, you know, we take our vitamins, we go for a walk, we, you know, try and give up vices where we have them. There are things that we can do, maybe consciously or unconsciously, just to keep our mental health on that kind of even keel and make sure that we're taking the time to look after it. And broadly, those things are something that we kind of describe as well-being, I would say, like well-being activities, well-being actions. And those are things we're just doing as part of our daily lives to make sure our mental health stays on that even sort of keel. And I guess for today, I just wanted to talk a little bit about our 5 ways for well-being. So this is a piece of research. It came out about 2008, I believe. So it's been out for a while now, and it was a big study looking across the board at what are the behaviors, what are the actions that people who report themselves to be more content or more happy, that's quite a hard word to quantify, what are the things that might be common to them, and start to like kind of group those into just 5 really simple actions and well, ways that we can start to build those into our daily lives. So yeah, the ways to well-being are connect, be active, give, take notice, and learn. And so those are really broad, but by and large, there's ways that we can build those into our time without really even trying a lot of the time. So I think, Nina, when we were talking about this, we were talking about the fact that there are parts of those things that can be built into the response to moving your wedding, postponing your wedding, just quite naturally and an easy fit thing. So should we talk through them one by one?
Yeah, my internet just went then. That was really good. But I thought, let's talk through them one by one. So that will do. Let's do that.
Brilliant. So the first one is connect, which is as simple as that. Feeling close to and valued by other people is a human need. And I think actually, if there's one positive thing that's come out of this period, it's that the value of connection to each other as fellow humans, one way or another, has really kind of been taken notice of. But this is again something that that making sure we stay connected with people is a really good way to support our well-being. And this group is just such a testament to the power of that connection, and a massive credit to everybody here for building this such a supportive community of people, and using that to stay connected as well.
I hope that continues to happen, to be honest with you. And I think that connecting, so I want to kind of relate these steps back to wedding planning and how you can kind of influence your wedding planning, and making sure that, if you're ticking some of these boxes, then hopefully you're doing something to help yourself at the same time. So connecting, obviously it's an obvious one when it comes to Zoom. Like, I am one of these people that used Zoom before. It's not like a huge unknown to me, but at the same time, I never lived on it. Definitely living on it now. But I think when it comes to connecting, it's making sure that you are still speaking to people face to face. Like, I feel that's really important. So with all of the couples that I've been helping and supporting, like my couples, I've been Zooming them. Like, I don't want to be doing it via email. Your tone can't be read properly. WhatsApp voice notes maybe a little bit, but getting on the Zoom and actually seeing people's faces and having a proper conversation, and making sure that you're connecting with your suppliers and your wedding venue in a way that isn't just about postponement. Like, I want to know what's going on in your life. I want to know if you just bought a house. I want to know if you've, like, for anyone that follows me on Instagram, they'll know that I busted my back a couple of weeks ago, and I had a few of my brides reach out saying, oh my God, I'm doing the same thing. One of them, bless her, she was moving house the same day. Like, I want to know this stuff about people. And the only reason that I do is because we have this connection. We will jump on a Zoom and we will make sure that it's much more personal than just email. So do feel free to reach out to your suppliers and say to them, let's talk, and let's talk properly as much as we can at the moment. I think as well, it's things like maybe calling people that haven't been intrinsically involved in your wedding planning, but actually they're a bit bored now. Like, lockdown's getting to them a bit. So having that distraction and talking about something hopeful and wonderful could bring them so much joy as well. So calling great Aunt Gladys, and having a little 20-minute chin wag with her about the wedding plans and what you're doing, and it might actually reignite a bit of spark for you, but also it will give her something enjoyable to talk about to her friends that day as well. And then also obviously reaching out to other brides and grooms you might know and seeing how they're doing, just setting aside 15 minutes just to connect with people, just to see what's going on in the world outside of your bubble, and feeling that connection as much as we possibly can right now, I think is hugely important. I'm saying this, I'm like, I need to take my own advice. Like, oh my God, I really do. I need to jump on and sing with my friends and see how they are doing. So yeah, I do think that is really, really important. I think connection's key right now to making us still feeling kind of grounded.
Definitely. And it's like you say, the point of these ways to well-being is that they are easy enough to just build into your day. But you're absolutely right, it's much easier said than done, because when everything else is happening and you're trying to work and you're homeschooling, and it can be really hard to stay on top of those things and to carve out that time. So it's there's no kind of set right way to do it. And if you're not now jumping on, like, you know 10 Zoom calls at the weekend this weekend to connect with people, like, you're not doing it wrong. It's okay just to have those moments of, like you say, like a quick voice note is also a really great way to reach out. So, and I think, yeah, like the same applies to the other ways to well-being. So the next one we were going to talk about was be active, which probably lots of us are really familiar with as something that can be really beneficial to the way we feel, to our well-being, and again is something that it doesn't need to be like, let me go jump on my like couch to 5k immediately and start my marathon training. It can be as much as just like moving your body in during the day in some way, like, jump down and do 5 press ups in the middle of a break between meetings, just in order to do something a bit different.
Exactly that. And I think being active for me is, like, I'm pretty lazy as it is, so I really struggle with this one. But when it's wet and gloomy and dark outside, like, I don't want to go out. I just don't. I'm quite happy on the sofa. That is my happy place. But actually, when it comes to wedding planning, it really helps. So I think at the moment, for example, just taking a walk and it being autumn, looking at the colours, it can provide so much inspiration. I know so many of my couples this year were planning weddings that were using kind of those rusty oranges, the mustard tones, the dusky pinks, that kind of stuff. And that's what's out there right now. Like, all those colours are out there. I want to go and see them. The leaves falling from the trees. Like, I'm very lucky. I live near the forest, so I see all of this. But I think actually getting inspiration from your surroundings is so important, and that can be done whilst being active. And we are encouraged to be active at the moment. Also, just going out for your exercise, even if it's just a little walk around the block with your partner, it means you're not sitting there in front of the TV all night. Guilty. But actually it gives you a chance to discuss your wedding plans and just gauge where each other is at, because sometimes we forget to do that. Sometimes we're so consumed with where we're at, we forget to see how the other half is doing and where they're at with what they think should happen in terms of the wedding. Or they feel under pressure because you're very emotional at one point and you're like, give me your answers, what should we do right now? But actually just taking a calm walk and taking yourselves out of that environment and out of that bubble, and getting that exercise together, can just help you reconnect, taking it back to the other one. So you're combining all these steps of well-being, of connection and being active, and doing these things together, putting things in perspective really helps.
Yeah, massively. I've actually really enjoyed doing like a walking phone call as well. Like at the beginning, I think at the beginning of kind of lockdown COVID, it was all about the video call, and that was lovely in lots of ways because, my mum can use WhatsApp video chat now. That's a revelation. But at the same time, that when you're looking at a screen all day, sometimes not looking at a screen is ideal as well. So taking my phone for a walk and then catching up with people at the same time, and then like tick tick, you've done both.
Yeah, exactly that. Definitely.
Exactly. So actually, to draw on what you're saying, Nina, about taking account, like looking at the surroundings, looking at the trees, noticing the colors, like that leads on perfectly to the third one, which is take notice. And I think this is this is a very broad one to interpret. And there's things like I guess we talk about being in the moment, we talk about mindfulness, those kinds of things that really all boil down to that same principle, which is about being present, noticing your surroundings, and also giving yourself a bit of time to take notice of how you're feeling internally, as well as taking notice of the external. And again, like you're absolutely speaking to it, Nina, when you're talking about giving yourself permission to feel a certain way, because even just acknowledging those feelings can be really useful in kind of in managing our well-being, to kind of say, that's what that is, let's put a name on it, I feel angry right now. Because again, you know, like then you can kind of go, right, anger, I know how to process that, I can deal with that. And that can be really beneficial too. It can just be as simple as that, as like taking a minute, you know, like you say, leave your phone outside, go for a walk, go have a bath, and just go, how am I feeling? And that could be really helpful too.
Do you know what? This one for me is like, guys, I want you to practice this. And there's a reason for it, okay? On your wedding day, you're not present in that moment, I swear. There is so much going on. There is so much happening. And they say that your wedding day goes fast. It goes fast. I promise you it goes fast. You think you're in the moment. You think you're remembering it. But combine that with a couple of glasses of champagne. And actually, I think this one's such a good one to practice. So that in your wedding day, you do actually take a moment and look at how you're feeling, enjoying that moment, not worrying about anything. You know, not thinking about what the next thing is, or someone's grabbing you to say hello, or you know, all that kind of thing, because you're a wanted commodity on your wedding day. But just actually being present, and if you practice that now and kind of look inwards at the moment and put yourself in a point where you can go, this is how I'm feeling today, this is how I'm feeling at the moment, now I'm really taking in my surroundings. And if you can do that now in quite a calm situation at home, if you can practice that and then put it on your wedding day, honestly, I wish I could go back to my wedding day and just for 2 minutes, just stand in a corner, put my invisible cloak on, and just think, this is it. This is my wedding day. This is how I'm feeling. Watch everyone's faces. Just be present. So if you can practice that step now of just kind of taking yourself out of your surroundings, being present in the moment and taking notice of what's going on around you, and put that onto your wedding day, I promise you, like that will be the best feeling to remember for the rest of your life. It really, really will. So that's my one for take notice, is practice it now to use it for then.
I really like that. I think that's really important. We developed just a little wedding wellbeing guide that every time someone orders wedding favors from Mind, we pop that in the post with it, just as a little reminder. And that's our number one tip for just looking after wellbeing on the day is, stop, take notice, give yourselves a minute, and get your partners to do it too.
Absolutely. On my wedding day, after my blessing, we were told to take ourselves off for 10 minutes. That's have nice. A drink, have a canapé, just us two, just after we got married. And I remember at the time being like, no, that means I'm missing out. I want to see people. Like, I've just got married. But we did it because we were told to do it. And I'm so grateful for it, because one of my favourite photos, actually, the photographer sneaked, is us two high-fiving off in the little corner by ourselves. Like,
I love that.
Yeah, it's a good one. And actually just taking ourselves off for that 10 minutes, just to be like, we did it, we got married, oh my god, we're husband and wife, and just taking that moment together was really, really magical. So yeah, although I just said that I really wish I'd been present at my wedding day, there is one moment where I do remember doing that. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And yeah, so we're on to number 4, which is learn. And again, it's extremely broad, but they're kind of meant to be. And it doesn't need to be, signing up for some evening class or anything complicated like that. It's just that what we've recognized, or what this study recognizes, that kind of continual learning in whatever capacity is a really good way to manage well-being. And sort of goal setting, learning new things, is associated with good self-esteem, which is something that we all need to support our well-being too. So this you can interpret it as you like, whether it's reading a book, doing a Sudoku, giving yourself a minute to, watch a documentary about something completely new you never heard of. It's all kind of just that stuff that's ticking away and it's going to support you to manage your well-being during a really difficult time.
And I think that when you come to learning, the thing that comes with the accomplishment of learning something is that sense of achievement. And that's so easy to relate back to wedding planning. It's so easy. So the first one on top of my head, being the organized control freak that I am, is writing a to-do list. But every time you tick something off, you don't scrub it out, you have a done list. Give yourself that sense of achievement. Show what you've done. I do this in life, guys, like literally, even your shopping list. But also work or anything else, I use things like Trello. In fact, one of my couples set up a Trello board for their wedding. Love them. But set up, I have my Trello board and I have one of the columns is done, because I want to see that sense of achievement. So that's really easy for you to do with your wedding, is writing out all those lists, but make sure you have that sense of achievement as you tick off things that you've done, and you will feel so much better for having done that. But also with learning in terms of wedding planning, oh my God, there is so much that you could be doing right now, in terms of learning calligraphy. So you could do your own invites. You might want to, I had a bride who made all her own candles for favors, which is amazing. And so you could be candle making right now. But also with that comes into the other steps of well-being. So for example, one of the things I was thinking about earlier when I was looking through this was that people have kind of biscuits as favors. So it might be that you want to learn how to make really good biscuits. One of my dear friends, Emily, who runs Made of Gingerbread, she started the Biscuit Academy. So she's got this whole online community now of people all learning to make these amazing biscuits every month. So again, it's that connection, isn't it? It's that social interaction, it's broadening your connections, but learning something at the same time, and it's also relating back to your wedding. So again, it's igniting all of these things. It's all of those learning processes. So, and there's so many people at the moment selling starter kits for different things. Shop small, buy independent, support small businesses, guys. We love you for it. And watching YouTube videos, all those kind of things. It gives you a sense of achievement. It's something towards your wedding. Doesn't matter when the wedding is. You can still make candles. You can still eat biscuits. All good. Like, I will eat your biscuits for you. Totally fine. But all these things you can do to learn and to give you that sense of achievement, to make you feel better about your wedding planning. That's what I think.
Absolutely. And yeah, like, you're absolutely right. There is a world of fantastic options out there, particularly now. Like, there's been a real surge of them, like tutorials and online courses. So yeah, like, now's the time for sure. Though I've tried calligraphy and it's blooming hard. So I mean, pay someone else every day for that. But if you're good at it, then please stay good at it, because the world needs calligraphers. For the rest of us that tried and were like, no,
Totally failed.
giving up on that now. That dream is over. Yeah, so just moving on to the final one. It's another one that is, again, really broad and open to interpretation. It's give. And when we talk about giving, that can be in all senses of the world. People who find a greater urge to kind of give to others in terms of their time, in terms of their energy, do report feeling generally happier overall. And so I think there's a really obvious kind of, I work for Mind, we're a charity and we need support. So the give there is an obvious one. There's a reason that right in the middle of lockdown, we saw these incredible fundraising stories like Captain Tom. Oh my goodness, millions of pounds raised, because people, when they're feeling rubbish, you do kind of turn to giving, because it gives you that sense of well-being. And so that's a really obvious one for me. But I think the idea of giving to others is also a really important one here, like giving kindness, giving time, giving, energy, whether that's, just to check in with people, whether that's passing on an act of kindness. you know, whether it's, you know, sending a little pick me up to someone in the post, all of those things really do help. You know, you get back in dividends what you give out like that, on every level, I think. So there's loads of kind of anecdotal evidence, I think, that that's something that lots of us are turning to do right now.
I think it's a really important one, and actually one that we've seen, as you said, like with so Captain Tom and things like that. We've seen it in so many different ways at the moment, and I'm so grateful actually for this one, because I've been on the receiving end lots of times, and I'm very, very grateful for people who have supported me through it, whether they sent me, like, for anyone who knows me, a big biscuit fan, so I keep on coming back to them. I've been sent lots of biscuits and things in the post, and in fact, actually, Hannah, you're on this. You sent me biscuits after I did your quiz for your original wedding day for you. And, you know, it is definitely like a way of making sure that people feel valued at this time is really important. So giving can be done in the most simplest of ways. You know, it might be that you saw a blog post that was really helpful to you, and so you share it with other couples, you share it with friends. I wrote a blog the other day which I came onto Guides for Brides and talked about earlier, in terms of how to book your suppliers during a pandemic and how to feel comfortable doing that, and that's been shared a lot because it's a helpful piece. So again, it goes back to connecting with people. Donating to charity is obviously a really, really big one, and Vicky will be telling us how we can donate to Mind after all of this as well, because I'm very grateful for the time that you've given, Vicky. Writing testimonials for suppliers is a massive one right now, because for anyone that heard me ramble on earlier, for suppliers this year, all we have is our reputation. So we're going to run out of content. If you haven't done any weddings, I feel sorry for new suppliers who might not have got many weddings, but you know, we're going to run out of content, we're going to run out of things to talk about, we're going to run out of talking about trends because we still haven't seen this year's trends, you know, all of that kind of thing. But what we do have is our reputation this year. So actually going on to Google, Facebook, or planning platforms like Guides for Brides and giving testimonials to your suppliers about how they supported you. Honestly, please, it will take you 5-10 minutes, and that is a massive way to give this year that will make a huge difference to your suppliers at the moment. So there's lots that you can do to be giving, you know, giving your time, looking after people, and giving in different ways, doesn't have to be monetary, is a fantastic way to improve your well-being. I know I appreciate it. I was sending little postcards to people at the beginning and things like that, and we were all kind of trying to jump on Zooms and give our time and give our experience, give our expertise to people in different ways as well, and support everyone. And I'm very grateful to everyone that did that for me. So I can definitely see how that one kind of fits in. So they're the 5 steps, guys. So it was connect, be active, take notice, learn, and give. If you can combine those things, and we've seen how you can combine 3 or 4 of them in one action, but if you can combine those things into your wedding planning and day-to-day life, then hopefully you will come away feeling a huge sense of achievement. You will come away feeling more positive about yourself. You will come away feeling overall a lot happier with how you're going to progress. But you do have to go through those stages of grief to be able to face some of the things in terms of wedding planning. But overall, if these stages of well-being can help you in your day-to-day life, then we've ticked a box today and we've helped a few people. That will do me. So thank you so much to both of you for giving your comments and being here today. I really appreciate it. I mean, they are 5 steps. There are the ways of well-being, you know. Look, guys, we all need to sleep, we all need to eat well, we all need to be active, we all need to kind of look after ourselves. But when it comes to your wedding, I want you to know there's a huge network of people there to support you, whether it is your family and friends, whether it is Facebook groups of people, whether it's your venue, whether it's your suppliers. Please, nobody ever feel that you're alone, and don't ever feel that you don't deserve the wedding that you always dreamed of. And if that feels good for you to hold on to that, that's great. If it doesn't feel good to hold on, you want to get it done quicker, that's great too. And one of the things that actually Jenny's put in the chat here that I just wanted to touch upon very briefly, because I'm conscious of time, is the build up to your original wedding date. and how hard that can be. And I've seen so many people go through this, but I think it's a good one to try and give people who are getting original wedding dates in 2021 some reassurance. Claire, I know that from what I've seen, it's that the lead up is awful, right? You put in some nice plans. Do please everyone celebrate your original wedding date. I beg you, please don't look back on it. This is a whole unique point in history. So, you know, to say that your original wedding date was during coronavirus, please don't let that go without raising a glass of some kind to something. But the lead up can be pretty hard. And on the morning, it seems everyone has a good cry. And then as soon as kind of family friends kick in and Zooms and whatever it might be that you're doing to celebrate, things start to get better. And then the next day, there's a sense of relief. That's how I've kind of seen the pattern go. But Claire, I don't know, you've gone through it. I'm doing this secondhand.
Yeah, we had probably about like 2.5 months between like postponing and the day. So like I said before, I did go through that acceptance and I kind of just stopped like everything. I just took it out of my brain. But yeah, then the like 2 weeks before, I think it's the like, oh, I should be doing this at this time, or I'd be doing this time, especially like those days. And my other half had the week off as well. So like we kind of found ourselves like rattling around the house, like not really knowing what to do. Like, oh, we would have been doing this. And like I spoke to Nina, like my fiance at the time didn't like, he was like, why would we celebrate? It's not our wedding day anymore. Like, he just kind of didn't get it. But I remember you saying to me, like, do something, like otherwise, yeah, you've got to do something to mark that day. And actually we had a really nice day. We put our wedding rings on, and we got like some picnic stuff. We had a picnic in like Regent's Park and just went to the zoo. But actually it was written that more people actually reached out, not loads, and I've seen a comment there about, again, disappointment in terms of like wanting more people to reach out to you, and I did definitely feel that, but more, I thought no one would reach out to me. So we got a couple of really nice messages, and someone sent us like prosecco and croissants in the morning. So it actually was a really nice day. And I know on that lead up, I heard other people saying, oh, I had such a nice day. And I did think like, oh, but how can you feel like that? But it's not a cliche. Like it really does like feel like a little special like moment within the journey to your wedding, I guess.
I think that's it, isn't it? It's just making sure that you just don't look back on it with any regrets. So if you do plan something and you're not enjoying it, fine, just stop. At least you tried. But I haven't heard of anyone doing that. Everyone that I've spoken to has really enjoyed whatever they planned, and there's so much that you can do. Hannah said she did a picnic, she did a quiz. I hosted Hannah's quiz. This is Hannah who sent me biscuits because she knows me well. But I did Hannah's quiz, and we had the bridesmaids against the groomsmen, and it was absolutely brilliant. I think it went on for about 6 hours, but it was fantastic, and we had so much fun, and I learned so much about them, and it was just the best. Like, honestly, I'm just laughing inwardly thinking about it. It's great. So there's different things you can do. And there's blog posts galore about how to celebrate your original wedding date. Do a bit of research. There's more options now, I think, than when a lot of these blog posts were written. But you could have a mock ceremony. You can do whatever it is you want to do, but don't let it pass by, because there is something special about that date still. And it will be even more special if you recognise that. So yeah, so there's just one thing I wanted to pick up on. I'm just briefly skimming the comments and chat. Having a wedding coordinator like Nina and a fabulous venue has really helped us through it. Cheers, love. Yeah, definitely do something nice. I think that is a really great thing to make sure that you pick up on. And I'm so pleased to see some comments saying that people can relate to what Claire's been talking about. So I think definitely do take away, acknowledge the process that you're going through. You may go through all stages, you may not. But I do want to just end by saying that if this has triggered any mental health issues for anybody, then please do contact your GP. And there are also charities that can help you slightly more immediately. So I will be putting links for those. Support you. So do reach out and do that. And if you need any more support, then we are here for you. There are different people who are here for you. And there are different Facebook groups, there are different companies, your suppliers, your venues, your friends, your family. Never, ever, ever feel alone. So with that, I just want to say a massive thanks to you both again, but also Vicky, please tell us, how can we right now go on to Mind and donate, because you've been so blooming fantastic in helping me pull this together. And what should we do?
No, honestly, it's my absolute pleasure, because I completely recognise this time has been really tough for lots of us, and especially this community of people. So I am yeah, it's my pleasure to be here. Two things I wanted to say before we go. Firstly, just to absolutely echo what Nina just said, and she's posting links furiously now. But if you are in need of support, there is support out there. Mind has a helpline that's open from 9 till 5. There's also support that you can gain from your GP, and just the first step is always asking for help. So please don't ever feel like the help isn't there. It is there. And particularly during this time, we know that there's been some hesitance for people to visit doctors, that kind of thing, just when they need it. But I would really stress that just because we're in the middle of a national pandemic does not mean that mental health needs to sit at the wayside or needs to take a back seat. It is just as important now as it always has been. So please do make sure you're seeking help if you need it. So Mind, we have seen a huge demand in our services over the last few months, and unsurprisingly, we did a really big survey kind of June time, just really in the height of things, and it said 2/3 of adults and I think 4/5 of children, young people, have found their mental health has got worse this year. And I don't know if you guys remember, just in October, it was our World Mental Health Day. And so there's a lot of coverage at that time on the news, that kind of thing. And the Monday after that, Saturday, we had the most amount of calls in one day that we've ever had. So I think it's really important to recognise that, like, no one is going through this alone. It's a tough time, but we will get through it. But help is there. For us at Mind, the most important thing really is just that if someone gets to the point where they're ready to ask for help, that we can be sure that help is there. And for that, we do need support. So if anyone feels inspired to donate today, I would massively, massively appreciate it. There's a link in the chat. It's just mind.org.uk/donate. And yeah, anything you can afford will honestly make a difference and help us to be there for more people that need us. And on a slightly lighter note, I mentioned at the beginning, I do look after wedding fundraising at Mind. And when things are back on, I would love it if you guys would consider supporting Mind. People who support Mind at their wedding do it lots of different ways. We have wedding favors, we've got sunflower seeds, and we've got pin badges as well. And we also have lots of people choose to support us by asking for donations on their wedding list. And it is just a really amazing way to do something a bit different and really share the love on your day. So if anybody wants to find out more about that, it's just mind.org.uk/weddings. When the time comes, that will be there for you. And yeah, we will be massively appreciative of your support. So I'll leave it there. But yeah, it's been my absolute pleasure, and I hope it's been helpful as well.
Absolutely, thank you so much, and thank you to everyone who's writing comments saying that this has helped them. That was the overall goal. This will be in the videos on Guides for Bride if anyone wants a recap on anything or go back through anything. If anyone needs any help, please reach out. We're always here to support you in any way we can. So once again, thank you so much to everyone for all your support, for being here, for your help, and I hope everyone is feeling okay. So take that time you need. Everyone go and have a bath now, relax, leave your phones in another room, and make sure you look after yourself. So thank you so much, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.